All right, so when you look back at the first meeting with Northwestern, obviously you didn't have Jaden, so things are a little bit different now. But
right.
what do you expect from this one in terms of?
Well, I think we got a break in the fact that, you know, Pete Nance got in foul trouble. I think anytime you get into a game, you can, you know, we've had it where one of our guys have gotten into foul trouble, then it affects the game to a degree. I think that really affected the game. You know, him only being out there for 22 minutes instead of his normal 30 to 35 minutes. He's a tough matchup. He's a guy that can score inside and out. He's got a lot of experience, and so I think it really, obviously, being at home helps you. And then when they lose one of their better guys for half the game, I think that piece helped us. And obviously we didn't have Jaden, but I thought we did some good things defensively. We still had a couple spurts in the game when we get up 10, 12 points. And then, you know, we always say that we relax, or whatever the proper word for that is. You know, we start to take some shots we shouldn't take, or not cover them as well. You know, Boo Boo, he had a stretch where he made some deep shots in that second half, and got to do a good job with him. But they have really good balance. You know, Chase Audige was hurt and still played, and never got going in the game. And so we know how dangerous he is. And I think that was the first game they brought Ty Berry off the bench. So just probably trying to get a little bit of a punch there. Julian Roper started, had a tip dunk. I think he hit maybe 1-3. But for the most part, like, you have to be aware of all their guys. It's not one of those teams where they have a couple guys that can score and you shut them down, you're going to get them. That's not the case. They have really good balance. They've been outside of our game, even though our game was really more of like a 10, 12, 13-point win. It ended up being a 20 because, you know, they messed up at the very end and we made some plays and it just pushed to 20. They've been in every single game. They've been in a lot of close games. Some they've won, some they've lost, but they've been right there. So it just shows you how good they are and how competitive they've been.
Just, I think when they brought Ryan Young in, he brought a little bit more physicality to the post. I mean, you prepare for everything. I get that, but what challenges do your post have going against him?
Yeah, when you watch them, and you know, he always will have a spurt in a game where he's very effective. Then you look like at Michigan State #1, he was really good in that game. They didn't have Pete Nance in that game, but he's a good low post scorer. He's got a good up and under. He keeps guys off balance, and it just, you know, when they have their guys that are playmaking, playing well, and then they have guys making shots, and he's a threat inside, that's the balance that we're talking about. So we got to do a good job of making it hard on him, doubling when he's necessary, and then just keeping him off the glass.
Some of the challenges that have come with this stretch of schedule here, in terms of the physical fatigue, mental fatigue, the fact you don't have as much practice time as you'd like.
Right. How
do you just kind of push through that? Is there like any sort of manual to this?
Not really. You're just trying to gauge where they are physically, and you're trying to gauge where they are mentally. And the mental is probably more important, because you can always do the right thing from a physical standpoint in terms of how long they practice, how many fast twitch guys do you actually have, who recovers better than others, things of that nature. But you got to have a good pulse on where they are mentally. And I just think we haven't been there here the last 2 games. Like, we haven't, you know, you got to be sharp. And sometimes, like, you might not be having your best game, but you got to be able to concentrate and still do your job. I thought we pushed through that in the Maryland game, but it doesn't mean we didn't have it.
Right.
You know, you can't just really go off the score, because we were getting some good looks. We just didn't knock down. We just didn't get enough of them because we turned the ball over so much. And so, like, to me, that's concentration. Like, we got to have a better concentrated effort in this game, and that's where it really comes, to try to challenge them about their focus and just, like, sticking with it and not giving into things.
Do you chalk some of those turnovers up to mental fatigue, or, as you said, just concentration, which sometimes can be mental fatigue?
I chalk it up to the concentration, because that's something you can control. The other one's one of those things that's really tough to quantify. You know it when you see it, but you know what you have to do to push forward is concentrate. You know, have a sense of where you are, and just know what's going on. Like, we're driving in to some blenders at times when they're just loading things up, and just play on 2 feet, make a simple pass and move it. We got guys posting up that, you know, don't have a sense of where they are sometimes. It's like, hey, like, you get the ball a lot, you post up a lot, you have experience, like, they can only do so much. You know, you can't run flea flickers and end arounds in this sport. Like, either the guys on your right or the guys on your left or the guys behind you or the guys in front of you. But you're going to see the three. The other one you got to feel, but that's the guy guarding you, so you know him. So, like, some of those turnovers are just, like, to me, like, don't make any sense from our big guys. You know, if you're one-on-one, score the ball. If they double you, pass it. Be simple with it. Like, we spend endless hours working on that because it's such a big piece of what we do. So when you're doing those type of things that you've conquered before, like, that's the concentration. You know, you have to be able to focus and know what's going on. And if they take something away, pass the basketball. The same with Jaden driving the basketball. If they're going to have 3 people, 4 people stop the basketball, play on 2 feet and get the ball out of your hands, that's when now you make them make that second or third play, especially if you move the ball after that. And that's hard to do. They're going to make, Northwestern does a good job. They are going to make you make the next play. And if you got to make the next one after that, then so be it. But just keep making that next play, keep making that right play, and making them play. Because when you get into rotations like that and they get behind, you're going to get open looks, but you're also going to get to the free throw line. Anytime people are in rotations and behind plays, they end up fouling a lot.
That game turned not just when you started making shots, but also started forcing some turnovers there on the defensive end. It's not something, you know, you guys have done a lot of this year from a numbers perspective. Is that something you'd like to do more of? Or is your defense built toward other emphases?
You want to have active hands, and like, you want to be able to have active hands without gambling. So I thought at the end of the Michigan game at our place, we had a couple really nice plays at the end of the game, and then I thought in the Maryland game, you know, we had 2 or 3 plays at the end of the game. And like, if you're going to make them, that's the best time to make them. You prefer them make them the whole time, but you know, I thought our guys did that. And that's how you got to come back. You got to be able to make some shots, but you also got to have some stops, and that allowed us to have that run.
Is it something that is a concern for you that your turnover generation numbers are as low as they are, or is it just something that's unique about this team?
You know, if we were a great position defensive team, you'd feel better about it. And at times we're not. We're just behind plays. And we gotta stay on the same page and not get behind plays. And now once they score things over you and you're making them earn it a little bit more, now you can really kind of branch out from that. But if you're behind plays or you're inconsistent in those areas, that you're going to get behind people and you're going to foul. Just like what we're trying to do offensively, we're trying to minimize or stop from a defensive standpoint. I think that's more than our communication is something. When it's good, it really helps us because it keeps us connected. When we don't communicate, we don't get ahead. Talking about things after they happen can help you, but talking about things before they happen and being able to sniff things out can eliminate. It just shuts it out like it doesn't happen. And so, like, now they have to, you know, do a better job of that, and it's something we've really harped on.
Part of the reason I ask is because when you look at the numbers, there's a lot of great teams out there. Duke, Kentucky, Auburn, Gonzaga, Illinois don't force a lot of turnovers. Correct. I didn't know if that represented any sort of shift defensively from a philosophical perspective around college basketball.
You're just trying to be in good position. And if you don't feel like you can pressure and knock people out and then really get into passing lanes because you've got guys with great anticipation, then you're really going to work towards being more solid and being in position. And that's kind of where we are in. And I think with those teams that you're mentioning size also. You know, Auburn has great size. Illinois has great size. Gonzaga has great size. We have great size. So when you have those big anchors down there, whether they're rim protectors or not, you still want to play good position defense and get those guys off the line, but keep them out of the paint. So people always say, hey, get them off the three-point line. Well, why do I want the ball living in the paint constantly? Because you get them off the three-point line doesn't mean they can't get to the paint. The ball can't go back out to the three-point line. It's not like it's a video game where you can push A or B. Like, you know, they can make the next play after that. So that theory, you know, I like getting people off the line when you're behind a play. Like, so now you see us running at some people. Well, we're not just running at them. We're behind the play. Then we're running at them. And so that's something that we got to keep working on and keep growing up, just being a better position team. Because if you're not going to get steals, you got to be able to keep them out of the paint. So if you're letting them in the paint and you're not getting steals, you're probably in trouble.
The schedule